Hello and welcome to the talk. I am Danish Manzoor, and today we are going to talk about a very interesting state in India, and that's Karnataka. As most of you are aware, that Karnataka is the fourth largest technology cluster in the country. $220 billion is its GDP, which is around fourth highest in the country, if I'm not wrong. And to discuss and talk about the very vital sector in this particular state, which is the information technology, which is all about startups. We call it the Silicon Valley of India. I thought who better to invite on this show and discuss about these things and more today than the Deputy Chief Minister, Dr. Ashwath Narayan. Welcome to the show, Dr. Ashwath Narayan.
Thank you.
Since 2004, you began your political journey. And since now, if you look at from 2004 till now, you've come a long way from being elected two times as the MLA of Malleshwaram constituency to now Deputy Chief Minister. Did you expect that you were going to be the Deputy Chief Minister this time?
Basically, I'd already represented I got elected thrice, and first time I lost the election. Then continuously I won all the three elections. While representing the constituency and being as an MLA, always we look forward to next position.
Right.
So because basically we'll be more into lawmaking process and into the common man and their grievance and redressal and all these aspects. So we would like to always aspire to become a decision maker,
Right.
and then the top in the line we would like to get in to do much more better things and show the way how we can make a difference in the society, in the government, which is our dream and aspiration. To realize that probably I got an opportunity. So each one of us will be looking forward, but all of us can't get, few of us will get it. But whenever we get, we need to make sure and do our best, because always we have been looking for it, and once we get it, we can't miss it.
Okay. So basically, with this opportunity comes a huge responsibility as well, is what you're saying, right? Now, see, in terms of your political career, you've been largely very non-controversial, which is very rare in BJP politicians in our country, right? So how do you manage to maintain that fine balance in your political career to keep, say, at bay from larger sort of controversies? I mean, you have been part of a few, but nothing too big so far.
Basically, one thing I am very, very clear about it. The clarity is to serve the people, to work for the people. I have not come for myself. The way of serving or doing better things in a bigger way through the government, we can do wonderful and excellent things. So keeping people concerned as the topmost priority, I've been working not to create more problems, more controversy.
So before we get into the Karnataka vision and your departments the portfolios that you hold at this point of time, I think it's very natural for us to begin with Bengaluru, right? It is the jewel in the crown of Karnataka at this juncture, and you happen to represent one of the beautiful constituencies of this particular city. Now, please tell us at this juncture, do you genuinely feel that this city, as I call it, there's a lot of opportunity here, but still is imploding and exploding at the same time, because the infrastructure at this juncture needs a huge push to be able to accommodate the aspirations and also the future, what it holds.
Bangalore city is not just a jewel for Karnataka,
Yeah.
for entire India and for the entire world, probably. And people living here many are from expatriates from
Right.
different countries and people from different states of India. All of them live. It is more of in India.
Yeah, more of a little
Lot
India in
of,
itself.
yes, lot
Yeah.
of diversity is there, and it represents the entire world probably. So we are happy and extremely proud of Bengaluru, and I am very confident this city will be the topmost number one city in country, as well as the matter of time or over the time, it will be the one of the topmost city in the entire world.
Right.
And even with whatever challenges we are facing on the ground level with regard to the infrastructure,
Right.
probably we can overcome. And in the situation like COVID-19, it has changed the way the things can happen. And even probably in 21st century, it is more of a virtual world than a physical world. So probably the changing world or the dynamics of the emerging area of the technology can change and overcome all kind of challenges.
Right.
Basically, we need solution, the better way of doing things.
Correct.
In that way, in that direction, we can do well, and as well as in physically.
Right. So, in terms of policy, is your government at this point of time in Karnataka focusing on making Bengaluru a more livable city?
Yeah, definitely, it should become a affordable, not only just livable, affordable, livable, quality life, keeping in concern the environment and all the health factors, standards of living, the quality of life, everything should be kept in mind. And we are working in this direction. Probably, right policies and right decisions can, facilitate and ensure whatever might be the challenges, the will of the government and the will of the people can decide and ensure that this city can be the most vibrant and dynamic and livable city.
Now, moving on to skill development. That's really, really important, right? India, with its median age of any Indian being around 27, 28, 29, we are a very young nation. And Karnataka as well has a lot of youngsters over here. Now, the problem that we face in general is having skilled labor, having people like, say, for instance, in one of our neighboring countries, there even a toddler can install or perhaps assemble a radio, but we can't do it here at this juncture given in the current situation. So what is the policy that you as a state have for skill development to ensure that we have a lot of skilled labor and also in terms of the quality of hireable workforce?
In this direction, a lot of things can be done. Probably there are a lot of lacuna, gap, everything is there. But national education policy has come timely, and it will facilitate a lot of reforms, and the way we have been learning and doing things can completely change. And I think the new India, what we are looking for, can happen through the national education policy. And we need to implement very effectively and enforce and implement and facilitate and hold on to it, and strongly we need to believe in it.
How soon can Karnataka implement it? How soon are you looking?
See, already we have started working in this direction. We were the first people to form a task force, and so after the formation of task force, immediately the report was given to the government, and the government has taken up that report, and already it has we have placed in the cabinet, and already we are moving forward for the implementation, and we are constituting a implementation team, as well as the required legislative changes, administrative and structural changes also has been proposed. And it is a matter of time. Probably we are just trying to synchronize with the government of India.
Right.
Since the starting year, the implementing year is from 2021.
Right.
We are fully geared to take it forward, and we are just waiting.
Probably we'll see Karnataka as the first state.
And with regard to the skill also, sir, in many verticals, many silos, the skill training is happening. But there's no coordination or the synergy is not there. So we are trying to give a lot of focus in this particular area, and start the orientation in the primary school level. The national education policy also prescribes, and even as a government, we are also strongly emphasizing on these aspects. There are many verticals, ITI is there, Polytechnic is there, GTTCs are there, agriculture, diploma training, horticulture, milk dairy, many livelihood department. There are, and as well as the education, engineering, many. Probably keeping in all this in mind, we are coming out with a big plan. Probably with next 5 years down the line, by 2025, we would like to create 10 million jobs. 10 million jobs, and at least 1 million job creators. Job creators will be 1 million, and the employment will be not less than 1 crore.
The thing that you mentioned is very important, which is having an end-to-end, like the synchronization is missing. If you have a skilled labor developing, passing out of or graduating out of an ITI, where does he go? So the synchronization is missing of sorts at this point of time.
So it was a very simple issue. It should be, just like that you have some course, you continue to run that.
Right.
It cannot happen. It should work basically on the demand and supply. So we are trying to just connect with the demand. Based on the demand of the various industries, we are trying to train the people. So based on the requirement, we are spending from our side, and we are ensuring the supply chain is maintained, and not only just the supply chain maintenance, the industry ready quality. The industry ready, we are ensuring in all the programs, let it be in higher education our various programs, we are ensuring the connect between the industry and the academia will be very strong. While they are learning, they'll be part of the industry.
Is this going to
Internship-
be part of the government's policy?
Yes, sir. Very much integration will happen. Even the industry, we are taking them to fullest confidence. Whatever it might benefit them when the trainees go there might not benefit the industry people.
Correct.
But even then, they need to facilitate because in the long term, they are going to get this resource.
Right.
If they are trained during the learning period itself, the companies are going to get benefited. The quality manpower can make a difference. We are competing not just with any neighboring states. We are competing with the entire
I
world.
don't understand.
It is a matter of quality. If the quality of the skilled manpower is not there, the product cannot be good. With this belief, we are working very strongly in this direction. We are not waiting for any time. Day in, day out, we have been continuously, very closely working with industry institution, and we are able to bring in a lot of breakthrough. You can't. That results will show
Yeah.
how much of difference we have made in this aspect. Probably it is going to change the lives of lakhs and crores of people. And that through that way, the Karnataka will be the most happening place in the entire world.
Right. So post-COVID, if you look at it, the world has changed. Everything, every process, everything that people had planned for, everything has changed post-COVID. Now, a lot of startups also got affected because of that. So did your government or does it plan or has it done something about that to ensure that the startups which have taken the blow of COVID and to sort of help them or give them a required push?
Yeah, well, from Government of India to Government of Karnataka, all of us have been working very closely. Now the startups have been given the top priority, even in the financial institutions. And whatever facilitation requires to be done in the government, facilitation, simplification, ease of doing business, ease of approval, innovation authority, digital economy mission, and all the ecosystem. Since the COVID-19 has become very, accelerated for the technology promotion. And it has facilitated in a very big way the reforms or the changes or the adoption of the technology or the enablement of technology has happened excellently. And the growth of the startups, particularly related to the application of technology, it has grown leaps and bounds, except few sectors like hospitality and transport sector. These are the few sectors it has been badly affected. Rest remaining education, healthcare, agriculture.
They've also found a new way of doing e-businesses, etc. Right? These sectors that you mentioned, education, etc.
Education, we are doing extremely well. Education, healthcare, agriculture, all possible sectors, financial, banking, all these things, except hospitality.
Yeah, which is really bad.
Hospitality and the
Transport.
transport and the airlines have been badly
Yeah.
affected. The rest remaining, I feel all are doing better than ever.
Dr. Ashwat Narayan, you said something very interesting. You said that you're trying to fix the supply chain issues, right? From in terms of skill and then to job creation ultimately. So a long-term vision rather is what you mentioned. Now, in terms of value creation, in terms of ensuring that in the days to come, we have much more ease of doing business as well. Because a lot of companies, a lot of startups, a lot of new founders who are in various parts of India who have the potential and they want to come to Karnataka and then perhaps start their businesses here, perhaps invest in over here, or perhaps have that initial stepping stone in their careers over here. What is your government doing in terms of ease of doing business?
To be very precise and clear,
Yeah.
since the state of Karnataka and the entire country in India, we are known for technology and embracing of the emerging areas.
Right.
With this background, we are now facilitating and holding on to a lot of reforms, let it be labor reforms, industrial reforms, or the land reforms. Many reforms has been brought in, and we are trying to ensure the ease of doing business is given the topmost priority and the facilitation. And we have been welcoming them with the open hands and with the red carpet, and whatever it takes to ensure that the facilitation or the implementation of the industry or any area, let it be any sector, we are willing to support them, encourage them, and we are strongly now in this COVID-19 period, the top investments among the compared to any other state. The state of Karnataka has received highest investment, 1,40,000 crores investment has been received by the state of Karnataka.
Despite COVID?
Despite COVID. And now state of Karnataka, we are working very strongly to be the best place in the country as well as in the entire global order. Also, we are trying to emerge as the best place to do business.
Right. In terms of upcoming major announcements or upcoming major investment opportunities which are coming up in Karnataka, is there something big in store for Karnataka which you know, which you could share with the audiences today? That is one. And second would be for all these international investors who are looking at investing in India at this time, what do you have to say to them from Karnataka?
Along with the top players, all levels, or any, let it be smallest to big, we are trying to respond to each and every player. We're not just trying to have only few people, the top people. We are trying to work with everybody from internally as well as externally. In this direction, we are adapting the technology in all the spheres, in governance, in all the levels. That will be even further to make much more things clear. The decentralization also should happen in all levels. The decentralization, that will be in the governance, in the local body, or running of any aspect.
So decision making is more effective, you're saying?
Very effective, and we are trying to simplify and we are reaching out to the doorstep of the people and facilitating and creating that kind of opportunity among the people, throwing up a lot of areas to do things, and as well as to reach self-sufficiency. Self-reliance is the most important thing, and depending on the external things is doesn't make sense. That itself is a huge business opportunity.
Correct.
Which can have it, and we have a very good population and sizable good numbers are there, and we can cater to any size and any places, and we are working.
Right.
It's from small to big, all are welcome. We are welcoming. At the same time, we are building internally also in all the directions.
So basically, the one thing that you mentioned is very interesting. You said something is out of sync. Like the industry is working fast, is working in a measured way, but the governments within the government departments, the pace is much different. So do you, as a rather young and educated minister at this point of time in the current cabinet, holding the portfolio also of a deputy chief minister, do you ever face that challenge within the bureaucratic or the current governance setup to sort of when you want to push something fast and it gets a little slow in between?
No, but if you compare with previous time or a previous dispensation, we are well ahead of others. Probably if you look at the kind of reforms brought in, it is very fast reforms. If you compare within matter of few years or a few months, what we are seeing is a drastic changes. And in the approach itself, a lot of changes are happening from top to bottom, from the government of India to state of Karnataka. Either you do or die. See, they've got no other way. If you don't change yourself, you'll be out of it. And we'll be nowhere. We'll be nowhere. So we have to perform. We have to do well. There's no other way out. All of us have to fall in line. And all of them have started responding and they've been working very competitively. Probably I feel there's no maximum limit. So there's a scope for improvement all the time. And you can keep improvising, do better. And that should be the attitude. Pursuit of excellence. Pursuit of excellence has got no timeline.
Correct.
So however you want to keep improvising, you can keep improvising and do well. Probably that should be the very basic foundation or the basic aspect for each and every individual. That should be the motto in our life.
So that the government and the private sector both work in sync, almost on similar speed, so as to propel the nation forward.
Yes, definitely. All of us are working with one purpose. We should not discriminate between government and private. There should not be any discrimination. I feel it should be equal opportunity, and we should facilitate and encourage whoever is doing good through his profession or through his business. Definitely, he should be respected. First of all, the respect should be there. And credibility is very, very important thing. And the credibility, if it is not there, cannot serve any purpose. So I think in this direction, each of us need to strengthen and respect each other and facilitate and celebrate all kind of entrepreneurship or the quality or our services to the society should be definitely respected.
Right. Now, in terms of some effective governance measures, what I've seen, probably I didn't discuss this with you, but I've observed that two things. One, you've done something about e-offices. I would like to know more about that. And also you set up some targets for yourself and your team on a weekly basis, which is rather unheard of. I think it is very important that in the country that we do appreciate some good work done by some of our politicians. So how does that 1 week thing work, like weekly update thing work?
Always we have been talking about the e-governance. Unless we as a leaders, we as a ministers, if we don't adapt, how can we advise others? So to make everything accountable and transparent, CE office is necessity is there, and we adopted and embraced that, and through that we have shown the way how things can be done. So the file movement or the movement of all papers, letters, files, everything can be traced and tracked, and how much of time has been taken in the government to dispose each file is very important. In this direction, probably we are working very closely with my department. Whenever the proposals or the files have been received, how much time has been taken, are we working well in within our time limits? That's very important to show the others down the line we don't hold on to things and we are accountable and transparent. Probably that will facilitate a big change among the people. Otherwise, people will feel years.
Yeah.
It takes years to the files to come out and to take a right decision. It should not happen. We are trying to work in days and minutes. We are trying to work and ensure and facilitate. It will trigger in a very big way the department. Stagnation will not be there. Dynamic and vibrant way of doing things. It will
That's
happen.
Department of ITBT and Higher Education. What about the other ministries, and will they be sort of picking up from the model that you have created?
Yes, sir. All the three departments, and all my three departments, we are working in the e-office itself. Even down the lane, our universities, they are also, we ask them to comply with the e-office. Any transaction should not be manual; it should be through e-office only, so that everywhere the movement can be reflected very effectively and it becomes easier
What about
and smooth.
accountability there?
Yeah, definitely, the e-office can bring in the most important aspect itself is accountability and
Right.
transparency. What we can see through e-office, and you have to decide, and things will go on and it will go forward. So even for any analytics, any analytics for any measurement, probably the e-office can be very easy to measure
Right.
and look into
Absolutely. Absolutely.
what kind of decisions have been taken, how things have happened.
Right.
Everything can be measured very instantly.
Right. So, for those of us who are just joining us, we are in conversation with the Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka, Dr. C.N. Ashwath Narayan. Dr. Ashwath Narayan is a medical doctor by education and one of the very few educated ministers in the current cabinet. When I say educated, I mean professionally educated ministers at this juncture. So, now, before we end today's session, Dr. Ashwath Narayan, I think one question, since we have kept away from controversies, because we believe that this present discussion between you and I that we are having, it should focus on what next instead of going down the lane and discussing what has happened in terms of politics and stuff. Since you're handling these portfolios at this point of time, you are the Deputy Chief Minister at this point of time. In terms of your personal life, how do you now manage the work-life balance? How do you sort of deal with that, the things from home and then also with the three departments that you have?
Here, when I'm working as a minister and with various responsibilities, I do work with a lot of clarity, not trying to mess up things and create a lot of confusion and make things difficult. I'm trying to simplify and do it very easily by having a clarity. In that way, probably we are able to do many things. What could not be done in many years, we are trying to do things in a very short and limited period. One side is the performance. Ultimately, all of us are here to discharge a responsibility very effectively. That should happen. That should only speak. Tomorrow, whatever I might say, sir, what you have discharged, what work you have done, it should only speak,
Right.
not my words. I'm working through my work. I'm trying to speak through my work. And along with that, family is very important also. We need to ensure to be a responsible husband, son, and a father to children. And as a
Do you get enough time for that?
yeah, definitely I get time, not to the extent what I expect, but
Right.
good enough, sir. Good enough. And since we are very focusedly, very professionally, we're trying to do things, particularly in political life. Somehow things have been messed up, and people, there's no space between personal life and the public life. That blur line, it has become very blur line, and I think it needs to be more professionally done, and it brings a lot of credit. We need to bring a lot of credit. Probably our honorable Prime Minister has brought a lot of credit into public life. So far, we politicians have always been looked down, because the people feel we work for ourselves with our own vested interests. That is a very challenging thing, and we are trying to ensure the credibility of the political life, political career is been taken up and
Right.
taken to the next level, and
At the
more
same time,
credible.
you manage the family well as well.
Yes, sir. By doing that, you are showing that you are also a responsible husband, a father to children, and as well as the son to the father,
Right.
and to the your brothers and siblings. Everybody, we need to be a better person. That is the most important. If you are not a good family man, also,
It's difficult for you to be a good
yeah,
administrator.
yeah. That's the right thing. If you are not good in a family, how can you be a good administrator? That's very important. Definitely, we need to, as a personal life, also we need to be good and responsibility, and we need to take care of them.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ashwath Narayan, for being on the show. And thank you all for joining us today. We had a very interesting chat today. We tried to steer away from the negativity of the regular news rush that we get to sort of bring to your homes or now to your phones. And we tried to discuss about Karnataka, what Karnataka has in store for the country and for the world, and what you could expect, especially in the departments held by the Deputy Chief Minister. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you next time with another guest. Till then, do take good care of yourself.